Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and today what I'm going to be talking about is 5 alternate takes or retellings with a twist of classic myths. The first one I'm going to be talking about is Gilgamesh the King by Robert Silverberg. Gilgamesh the King is Babylonian / Sumerian mythology, and Gilgamesh is kind of like a Conan the King type of character. He's like a Hercules type of guy as far as the feats and the things he's done, but he's also a king. This story is a retelling with a twist because it's basically he's writing his memoirs kind of. So everything is his account of what happened instead of the classic third-party account. So it takes it all through his exploits, his trials, his tribulations, his meeting with his best friend. It's also kind of a bromance and their relationship and what happens there. This is an awesome book. I actually read this book before I read the classic mythology. I love this book. And then, of course, I read the classic mythology just to kind of see what was going on. I really enjoyed it. After reading both, my favorite thing was kind of his memoirs and how he's saying what happened versus how the classic mythology kind of points to it from a third person view. So 5 stars. This book is an excellent book and I would highly recommend it. The next book is The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell, and this is a take on the King Arthur mythos. The reason why I love this book, and this is one of the, whatever you do with these 5 I'm telling you about, this is one of 2 must reads. The reason I love this book is because the classic King Arthur mythos is very heroic and very highbrow, and everybody's living in these wonderful, beautiful, glistening castles, and it's about chivalry and honor. This is not that. This is King Arthur as basically a warlord in the Dark Ages, and he is a good guy, but he's as good a guy as you get for a warlord in the Dark Ages. The story is told by one of his footmen who rises through the ranks to kind of become one of his lieutenants, and it's him telling this story. And I just really loved how it made life seem so tough in this time, and how King Arthur himself was imperfect, and how all the characters dealt with kind of the rough life of the Dark Ages. A must read, 5 stars. Next book I want to recommend is Stephen Brust, To Reign in Hell. This is basically a prequel to Paradise Lost. And I say that to mean Paradise Lost starts after Satan has been cast down. To Reign in Hell is basically what happens that gets Satan sent down. Now, I'm saying Satan, and people would think it's a prequel to Paradise Lost. It's not really a terribly religious book. They kind of treat the angels like mythical figures like elves in Lord of the Rings, or some type of angelic character who is an angelic character from mythology, but there's not a ton of religion in this story. It's really more about a tale of what happens with God and Satan and their relationship, and how it all falls apart at the end. So they kind of treat it like they're friends, and then it all, falls apart for hijinks that happen in the book. Excellent book. I would strongly recommend this book. If you read this book, you will definitely want to kind of take a peek at the classic epic tale. For all of these books I'm recommending, in the description, I have links to the classic tales, whether they're just summaries, whether they're updated versions of the epic poems, or whether they're just classic books that describe the mythology. So if you want to know the classic take, go down in the description, pick the one that works best for you, and you can go ahead and check it out. Next book is The Palace of Illusions by Chitra, Banerjee, Divakaruni. This is a retelling of the Mahabharata, and the Mahabharata is basically a story about two families or two sets of cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, and what happens to them, their conflict, and then the ensuing war that occurs because of their conflict. It is definitely a male-based tale, but one of the key characters in the Mahabharata is a character called Draupadi. She has several names throughout the book. I'm just going with the first name that she had, which is Draupadi. And she is a key character, not because she does a ton of stuff in the Mahabharata, but because she is the wife of 5 of the heroes. And of course, there's a tale as to how she ends up the wife of 5 of them. But this book, The Palace of Illusions, basically tells the Mahabharata through her eyes and how she sees things as a female living through those times, as a wife, as a mother living through those times. It's an excellent book. I almost gave it 5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is I just wanted a little bit more about her life and also the life of women in that time. And they did a couple plot devices which worked, but I felt like they did a couple plot devices to show things happening in the Mahabharata that Draupadi wouldn't have known about. And instead of those things, I would have much more liked it if they were like, if you're reading this, you probably read the Mahabharata. We're not going to talk about some of the things that occur. We're going to focus on her story and what she does during those things that are occurring. It's still an incredibly excellent book. It's a high 4 stars, and I'm probably being a little bit nitpicky, but this is a book I would highly recommend, Palace of Illusions by Chitra, Banerjee, Divakaruni. And the last book I'm going to be recommending is The Trials of Hercules by Tammie Painter. This is what it is, The Trials of Hercules, but the reason it's kind of an alternate take is this is in a world where World War III has happened. It's a post-apocalyptic world, and centuries after World War III occurred and everything got messed up, the Greek gods decided to come back. So this is centuries after that post-apocalyptic event. So there's been some rebuilding of life, and they have a culture and everything. No real technology to speak of. It is basically a technological level that is equal to ancient Rome. And the gods have come back, and it is a story that's told where they're trying to pull back some on the mysticism and magic, but still tell a story that has these gods and all these events. So it's also an interesting take because of that. The reason it ended up with 3 stars for me is I felt it was good, but the tale was just a little light, a little kind of like a TV show-ish kind of thing, in that it was good, I enjoyed it, but it didn't blow me away like the other books. But if you're a person who is really into Greek and Roman mythology, then I think you'll really like this book, and I think you'll really like how they portray Hercules and the characters and the events that occur in the book. So this is Ofori Murray, the digital reader, and keep reading.